Welcome to another episode of the Gap Downbacker podcast. Today we have Coach Todd Knipp with us. He is the head football coach at Chesapeake High School in Ohio here. Coach, how are you doing?
Doing well. How are you this morning?
I'm doing good. Despite not having Derry here this morning because of his birthday, we'll keep chugging along, but I'm doing good. As we were talking beforehand, schedule changes at work, but I mean, we're all kind of moving forward. I think all of us are slowly getting kids back either part-time or full-time, which is nice.
Yes.
I mean, it's a blessing. By the time this releases, our state clinic will have been released. Thankfully, that whole little monster will be done. And and also for those listening, Coach, this will actually come out before a clinic he already recorded for us. Coach recorded clinic on manipulating defenses with his wing T offense. That will be out probably within, I'd say, 4 to 6 weeks of this releasing. But so let's kind of, what do you want to, I know you hit on a little bit in your clinic, but to kind of preview that, why the wing T? Why for that was that your answer on offense?
It's kind of funny, I call it a wing T journey. When I first started, and my experience as a player, we were I-Pro. I went to college. We ended up being spread. And then when I first got back into coaching, I went back to my alma mater, and we were still in an I-Pro offense. But I was trying to find something that, we could build on. I remember going to a clinic, a Nike clinic down in Louisville back in the late 90s. And I was watching Georgetown College, and they were talking their goal line package, and they were lining up and in an unbalanced set to the right, said, we don't even worry about going left. We just run it right. And then they were running a weak side sweep off of it. And I kept looking at it. And then, a few years later, I'm 25 years old. I'm a offensive coordinator. And we're just trying to find a way. We've got a pretty good wide out. We're trying to find a way to get the ball to. And that weak side sweep kind of burned in my mind. So we lined up in a pro set, sent a kid in motion, and said, well, shoot, let's just hand him the ball. He's going full speed. Kind of helped us out, move the ball that game a little bit. And then that really kind of sent me on my journey, trying to find out, see if we could build on that. All of a sudden, I go to the Coaches Association Clinic. Glenn McNew's there when he was at Morgantown High School in West Virginia, averaging about 50 points a game, and they're running jet sweep. So kind of started there. More clinics. Herschel Moore and Wes Elrod were at Cumberland, and they're running this sweep stuff. And it really, I laugh. I said, I fought staying wing T for a long time. I just said, I don't know if I was fighting a connotation to it, or I, didn't really want to be labeled, but the deeper I dug, the more wing T I became. So Bruce Cobley, Harrison High School, got a lot of stuff from him, and we just kind of built what we did off the jet. Now it's the basis of our offense. We're going to make you stop it, and when you find a way to stop it, hopefully we've got an answer for what you're doing to counter that.
A couple things with that. One, have you ever looked at running rocket sweep instead of jet sweep, or is it jet sweep kind of just you're comfortable with it, or it just works well for you?
Actually, when I first started, we run both.
Okay. So
we will run rocket. Now, the last couple of years at my last stop, we're just not as good at rocket as we have been jet. I mean, it sounds, on paper, on everything, you're going, we're just pitching them the ball. But, kids run it, each play differently. I found that I've had teams that run rocket better in the past. I've had teams that run jet better because we're running the same complements off both of them. And, we block, the way we do it, we block them the same way.
Okay.
So that way we're not changing blocking on it. We just block the same way, whether we pitch it or hand it to them.
Okay. And then my next question, I think we talked about this last time, and I can't remember just because as we talked, the state clinic has just fogged my mind.
Okay.
Did you ever go to the National Wing T Clinic in Pittsburgh?
Yes. I've been there probably 3 of the last 4 years.
Okay.
And probably one of my favorite clinics, because this is now, I'm a clinic nut. I love clinics, but it's kind of nice when you go up to the National Wing T Clinic, and I said, and everybody's speaking the same language.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I call it, everybody does a little different. You got traditional, you got hybrid, you got shotgun, but, everybody knows what everybody else is doing is familiar, and, got a lot of great information there. Made some nice connections with other coaches, that you can bounce ideas off of across the country, across the state. It's been a great resource for our programs.
Okay. I mean, that's the same thing. I've been there twice in the past, I don't know, 7 years. I was actually looking forward to going again this year, and then obviously COVID has kind of stopped that, because we went as a staff last year. We probably ran in the hallway and didn't even know it.
Probably.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's an extremely great resource for, I mean, obviously post-COVID, but for people to get into after this year if they're interested. And I know Roger Holmes does his thing down in the South, clinic-wise as well. And then obviously, I mean, we've talked Kenny Simpson before. He just had his big Wings and Things clinic the other, what was it, like last week or the week before?
It was last weekend, I think, yeah.
So there's plenty of resources out there. But and you mentioned some guys that you talked to. Is there anybody that's, I mean, obviously Kenny Simpson has his books right now, and Kenny's a friend of this channel. Is there anybody besides Kenny that you're looking at a lot right now to help develop and continue your system?
I look at Kenny's stuff a lot. I've purchased a bunch of his materials he's put out on CoachTube, and was able to implement a couple of them into our system this year. Scott Meadows is another one, Pigeon Forge High School in Tennessee. He's got some good content out there. These guys are, they each have a different twist on how they run the system. And it's enabled us to kind of be able to expand our package a little bit. We're not, I won't say we're wholesale in it, but I will get in gun and we'll run some stuff. And it's been a nice change up for us in games. We'll spread it out. We'll be empty running buck. We'll be running jet under center. And then I'll go foot to foot, and we'll go double tight, double wing, and we'll run superpower. Oh, beautiful. To me, gap down backer is gap down backer.
Yeah.
And I call offense and I call defense right now. And my goal as an offensive coordinator is to basically drive a defensive coordinator nuts. Okay. I want to throw enough stuff at him that they got to try to prepare for everything and make it impossible to be able to simulate, to be able to cover everything.
Now that superpower, because I ran double tight, double weak for several years back in the day. Do you do that out of the gun or out of under center?
No, we do it under center. Right now, we do everything under center.
Now, do you pull just the guard and tackle backside?
Pull guard and tackle.
Okay.
The backside tight ends coming down, sealing off.
Okay.
And we'll use the quarterback to help seal off the backside.
That might be the best part about that.
No, go ahead.
That might be the best part about that is the other side of double wing is you just toss, leap through a quarterback. Like you become a full force, essentially extra fullback at that point.
Yeah, I hadn't ran it till I got started coaching here at Chesapeake. They ran it before me, and in practice, the more I looked at it, because I used to hate it as a defensive coordinator. Yeah. And then the more I looked at it, I started falling in love with it. I said, what's sexier than just lining up, telling everybody in the stadium, we're running right here, and there's not a thing you can do to stop.
And then if you overload it, I got countered back to the backside.
Yeah.
And it's just it's abusive. It's beautiful in all honesty.
Yes.
What does your install schedule look like? Do you go by? I'm assuming you probably go by series because that's what most wing T guys do.
Well, I try to stay away from series, and this is why. As silly as it sounds, first thing we put in is jet.
Okay.
So, we get jet and we'll put rocket in. And then off that, I've basically taken plays from series and put them in.
Okay.
So we'll put jet and we'll put rocket in. And then the next play we'll put in will be fullback trap. So then we're faking jet, run a fullback trap off of it. And then we'll put belly in and we'll run belly off of it. From that, we'll put a counter tray, we'll fake jet, fake belly, and then we're running a wing back counter, coming back with it. We kind of, so what I've done is I've taken all these plays and basically made jet and rocket my series.
Okay.
But we've got a lot of tools to use within that, so to speak.
And then I mean, you mentioned unbalanced there. And then how quickly do you start installing formations? And then formation-wise, do you call them by formation, or do you tag everything for formation?
I try to tag it. So, when I first was hired as head football coach, I said all the kids that I was coaching, Texas Hold'em was huge. So all they talked about was cards. So I named, red and blue was king and queen.
Okay.
That way, flax was ace. So I found something that they were kind of tied into. If I wanted to move a guy, the split end over, I would call extra king. If I wanted to move the tight end over, we'd call it king over. So I just tag a word, and that way we've got a surface area, and then start moving kids. That way they just had to listen to their word to move them, and then go with it. So, I mean, it worked out. The kids used to laugh, and when a new kid would come in our system, they would sit there and they said, listen, the plays are easy. If you learn where to line up, it takes care of everything else. So once they figure it out, because we'll move them around. I like to give people a lot of formations, few plays, and we're going to find a way to make it work. And then, there's always one formation that they're not prepared for that I feel like we can kind of line up and take advantage of and, gain an offensive advantage with.
Now, do you now when your format tags start getting too wordy, do you just give it a new name, just like a one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't want it to. I mean, I don't want to sit there and sound like an NFL roster trying to call a play. I mean, my kids can't even remember. I practice when we signal plays in now. I practice sometimes if a kid doesn't get the signal or if we're sending it in with a kid, he forgets to play. I have a fallback play. That way the quarterback knows he forgets to play. We run this. And I shoot. I says, silly as it sounds, I've practiced that in practice. I'd send a kid in and say, tell him he forgot to play. And then it also tells me when they line up in the formation and run a play that kid forgot it, that I'm sending it in with.
Well, that's where, because I just got an OC job, that's one of the biggest things I've been focusing on. I was just trying to make sure stuff isn't too wordy. It's like, how can I make this simple for the kids, but at the same time, how can I have everything that I need for what we're doing at the moment?
Right.
And that's why because I did a clinic for the Michigan clinic last year about one-word calls and all that little stuff. But like I said, you're all. I think for me, I'm always looking at how can I make this simpler for them and me, because I'm not like some of these smart Lane Kiffin PhD coaches who grew up with their dad coaching football and are just smart as shit. I'm just not who I am.
Well, at the end of the day, I mean, we've got about 35 seconds to get it, or 25 seconds to get a play off. And the last thing we need is a kid trying to read a paragraph and tell everybody what to do. Yeah. So simpler is better. I mean, that way the kids, I laugh. I tell people I could teach 8-year-olds this offense and should be able to run it. I mean, with, how little there is to it. I try to keep our verbiage as short and as concise as possible.
Now, how much has that verbiage and that system morphed over the years? Obviously, you weren't originally, like I said, we talked already, your system has morphed over the years already, but how much has, and this is not the date how old you are or how young I am, because when you mentioned Texas Hold'em, I'm like, oh, that was towards my end of my high school, early college. But so how much is that morphed? Yes. And then over the past several years with you running the wing T concepts in your offense, how much has that changed?
Actually, it's changed a lot, because when I first started in the wing T, I named every formation. I mean, we had and I try to tie them together, but every formation had a name. So the tag thing came along probably around 2014 when I really started to try to concise that down. Basically, I come up with about 4 surface areas that we could line up in. Then I had about 4 tags I could add to it to change it. And that was more for simplicity on the kids, simplicity on me. Probably as the years went on, I run less and less plays. What I found is sometimes I think we carry too much. I think we, on a good night, we're probably running 60 plays on offense. If things are going well for us, that means we're running jet. Maybe if I'm running it 15, 16 times and something coming off of it, what am I carrying all these other plays for? So probably reduced it quite a bit. And like our passing game, I'm constantly trying to tweak and morph. We're still not where I would like to be with it. It's getting better, but I don't get caught up in having West Coast concepts. I'm looking more at how they want to attack us and how we can take advantage of some of the things that they do. Yeah. One of the good things I've done is I actually, before you had him on the show, got in contact with Seth Storr down in Oberlin. And I said, Coach, how many times a game? And he said, hey, we got a guy who can wing it. We're throwing it 6 times a game. I start laughing, and then I'm watching film. There's 6 times he's driving it about 60 yards downfield, and those guys are running under it. But I mean, but talking to him, his thought process on it, and I loved when he did his first clinic, the if-thens, because I always did that. Who's making the tackle? But I never wrote it out. Yeah. So he had it wrote out. All right, this guy's making the tackle. Here's what they're doing. I thought, man. So I was like, I'm definitely going to, that's what I'm writing that down, because that's exactly what we're, how we kind of do things. Yeah. It's been, so I said, I'm 46, always learning. And, especially, this last year, I've been able to really pick up some really good things and kind of adapt and put into our system without changing it, but I think to make it better.
Yeah. And then, to your point, Seth does some good stuff, and it's definitely a joke when he says, I'm going to throw it 6 times.
Yeah, I know. There's no joke about it.
And he made it very clear. He ain't checking down. Like, if I'm throwing, it's going vertical.
Yes.
So, but speaking of kind of putting in your system, how much do you use the 7-mans that we're allowed to use in Ohio? I know it's a little difficult for you.
Yeah, I would use it for passing mostly. Okay. Now it's passing wise, I used it, but I'm being in a small school. Most of my guys are going to be running track or playing baseball. Yeah. I mean, I double duty. I'm also the head track coach here. So, if I don't have a kid playing on the baseball team, I want him out there on the track with us. And then, after track practice, we'll get out, throw a ball around for about 15, 20 minutes with about 7 kids and then get them out. So I won't say I've ever really used it. I think sometimes we need to let them be kids. Yeah. Sometimes, unfortunately, like I said, I like being the head football coach, but sometimes I think they want to be away from me. I kind of, give them that luxury, or I'll just give them ball. Hey, they'll go out on their own and do some stuff. So they've been pretty good about it.
Okay. And then, I mean, let's just be honest. Small school ball assistants can change frequently.
Yes.
How is that process for you as you get new guys to teach them your system? How does that work for you?
Well, I've been kind of fortunate in that. Now, I've had different people over the years. But when I got the job at Chesapeake, I was able to bring one of my coaches. It was a retired teacher. He was actually my high school head football coach. So he was coaching with me. I retired and I got the job, and I said, hey, you want to come coach? And so he's coaching. The other 2 I retained on staff from when I was here previously. So I actually have I said, I laugh. I'm the youngest guy. So I've got guys that's been around a lot longer than me, a lot smarter than me, and all been head coaches.
Okay.
So, and, so they've been around, they've ran wing T. So it's been real easy install.
Okay.
Obviously, we tweak and, everybody sees it different, which is fine. I mean, I like to be challenged on stuff, and if they can convince me that it's the best way to do it, hey, I'm in. So I don't have all the answers and won't pretend to. I like to think I listen, but I tell them, say, hey, we better make this work.
Yeah.
But it's been it's been good. Like I said, I've had a lot of good young coaches over the years. Ironically, it's kind of how I ended up here at Chesapeake. The former head coach was an assistant for me, like my second year as a head football coach at my previous employment. And then he came back home, got the head coaching job here. I was looking for a job, and he got me hired as an assistant here.
Okay.
So it's been good. I mean, we've a lot of good people, but yeah, I tell people all the time, finding good assistant coaches is tough. And the harder part is hanging on to them, because if they're pretty good, they're looking to move up the ladder.
That or they're going to get calls, coach. That's the other thing that goes on.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to get calls. That's like,
yes.
Especially if they're in a teaching field that is open readily, like intervention specialist or math or something.
Right.
I mean, yeah, what I do.
They're going to get, people going to get a hold of them.
Yeah. So you mentioned obviously, belly, jet, rocket, trap, and I know in your video you talked a little bit about buck sweep. Is there anything else you think you guys do really well that maybe it's not necessarily maybe you're like base, but it's compliments or other stuff you guys kind of work on?
We're still kind of in the growing phase here, with some of those compliments. I know one of the things that I added a few years ago kind of really helped our package was triple. We started running some inside and outside veer, and that was more when they kept wanting to move them ends out. It just gave us another way to be able to attack. But right now, we're still, this year definitely we're going to be looking for. I'm trying to think the best way to put this. We've got big personnel change. So, we've got a lot of young kids going to have to step up. And, I think that changes year to year. Some years you execute one part of your offense pretty well, and then the next year it may be something else. Sometimes it's just we're not real good at executing it, or it could be the defense is doing a better job of taking that away and forcing us to do something else.
Okay.
So, our counter game's been good. Like I said, we've, we're trying to find ways more and more each year. I guess I try to find a less is more for me. The easier we can find something with less teaching or less addition, the better for us.
Okay. And then you mentioned inside veer there, which is not something that some people necessarily think with the wing T. It's more of a flex bone oriented thing. How much from a time standpoint cost was that for you? Since you want, it's not like
it wasn't too bad, because what we ended up doing, I've learned to use internet, kind of to my advantage. Got in contact with a guy out, I think in Washington State. He kind of broke down their pre-practice with it. And when we started running, basically we would do a 10 to 12 minute pre-practice option drill. And it was basically on Mondays, we would work midline to the right, inside veer to the left, outside veer to the right, about 9 reps, basically 3 gives, 3 pulls, 3 reads, because a read's a read. Yeah. And normally I was the read guy. And then throw it in about 4 or 5 reps per practice. I mean, it wasn't something we were going to live and die by. It was just something when we caught those guys cheating out, all right, if it's one less guy to block, then, hey, I'm all in. So he runs upfield. We ran underneath of it and found some success with it. And, hoping to get that back and rolling for us this year. yeah, we've had success being able to do it without a lot of, investment.
Okay. And then, I mean, how wide a variety do you still see in their defenses you're seeing?
It's we see a little bit of everything.
Okay.
I mean, it's kind of incredible. We'll see a 50. We'll see 40. We'll see a 4-3. I mean, sometimes I'm not even. I laugh. Sometimes it's not. It's hard to identify exactly what it is. So, you look and I'm like, hey, they got a lot of guys out there. This should work. So, we'll come back, and then you give it back on film and you're looking, you're like, okay, we did what we wanted. They got 6 guys out there looking to take sweep away. We got to make sure we're getting over here and attacking this. But, we see everything. I mean, and it's, adjustment-wise, I feel pretty good. Most of the time, if we're going to have fits, it has more to do with the size of the the defenders than the scheme, so to speak.
Okay. I mean, that's. I mean, as I do, that's always the interesting thing is, I mean, you can kind of guess what they might get into, but you never.
Right.
Right. The crapshoot.
Yeah. I anymore, I'm to the point, it's like, I don't even ask, is it even, is it odd? I just ask, all right, what gap are they leaving open? Do we have an open B gap? Do we have an open A gap? Because what I found is that's the information we need to know. What gaps are open? How can we attack that? Because one minute it could be a 50 shade. Next minute they could, do a full man slide over with it. And it's kind of remarkable sometimes. I always call it kind of defense of the week.
Okay.
I mean, as well as I do running this stuff, you're going to see a wide variety of things.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's just, I mean, we've gotten 5-2s, 5-3s, Veer, 4-4s, 7-1s. I actually like the 7-1s because I'll just run like quarterback trap or actual trap, and if we block you just half right, we're probably busting for 10.
Right.
I think that's, in my opinion, that's like the worst. I mean, unless you just have dudes.
Right.
Like I don't think that defense is. Yeah. I mean that's.
Yeah.
It's one thing when like Trotwood Madison runs it against you, they have dudes everywhere. But when some of these other schools try to run a 7-1 diamond on you, you're just like, oh yeah, this ain't gonna work, dude. It's just.
Okay. I always laugh. I said the more they want to stick inside, I kind of thank you. Yeah. Put them in there. It just makes it. That's less bodies we got to block on the edge. We make one guy miss. We got a shot.
Yeah. We had a team that did that against us, and we knew they were going to do it against us because they did to us the year before. Mm-hmm. So we had a pretty good idea. And so we installed quarterback trap that week, and we didn't even block it right once of the 3 times we ran the game, but 2 of the times went for touchdowns. The other one has like an 8-yard gain, so it's like, oh, okay. So actually, funny enough, I actually sent that to Seth. Asked me for if you had anything because he had his playoff game. I said that to him, like, there's something if you're going to get junk, like.
Yeah.
So, see what happens. I mean, I don't know. Just so kind of as we head towards wrapping up, I do want to ask. I mean, because you mentioned like what gaps open. So what do you like your box guy? What do you typically have them look for?
One of them I look on the perimeter. So what I want them looking for is I'll have one looking on the perimeter. How are they playing? How are they lining up the sweep? What are they trying to do to take it away? Are they rolling the force play? Are they rolling down? The other guy, I kind of look on the interior. Give me an idea what they're leaving open. What's there? What can we come back with? Are their backers running? Are they trying to penetrate? Are their D linemen sitting? Can they be trapped? Those kind of things. Who made the tackle? Where's he playing? Where did he come from? Was it something they did, or did we just get whipped that way? Those kinds of things. And, it's constantly evolving. We're trying to find, it's what I always laugh sometimes. I kind of like that information quick. Less is more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if you ask the kids, all right, guys, what do you see? And they start telling you there's 35 guys on defense. And it's like, no wonder we can't run anything. Yeah. Everybody's out there. So we can just kind of look for those things. And, if we see guys rolling, we know, especially from the secondary, we know we got a shot to, possibly hit a play action pass or a counter backside and take advantage of rotation.
And then the last question I got for you before I wrap this up, because we obviously talked like we're just going to get some random defense usually most weeks, or some variation of their defense that isn't really their base, but they have whatever. So when you're scouting and watching film, what are you? Obviously, it'll give you a little bit of an idea of what they might run, but that's not a lock. So what else are you actually like looking for when you're scouting an opponent?
Most of the time I try to find personnel, find out who their best guys are, who guys are susceptible, who can we attack, who gets nosy, does this guy does he read, does he chase flow? I try to concentrate more on the personnel of who we're playing rather than so much the scheme, because I know the scheme most of the time is going to change anyhow.
Yeah.
Or be varied from what they're doing. So I try, all right, which end can we hook? Which end can we hook him with a tackle? Do we need to go unbalanced and possibly get him with the tight end wing? Things like that.
Okay. Well, Coach, I appreciate you coming on. A couple things as we wrap up. Coach's contact information will be in the bio. Make sure you give him a follow on Twitter and reach out to me if you have any questions. Coach is a good dude. He's very involved in not only our state association, but in just football in general. Also, make sure you like and subscribe. Helps people find the channel, find this video as well. And then obviously, if you're on one of the podcast apps, just subscribe that way. Again, it helps people find it, so this continues to spread. Coach, I want to thank you. I appreciate it. And I hope you and your family and your students stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you again, Coach.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate you having me on.
And that was another episode of the Gap Down Backer podcast.